A fast-moving snowstorm is approaching, and for many communities, this will be the first accumulating snowfall of the season. We will first review the timeline for this event, and then we will discuss how much snow your area can expect to see from this weather system. After that, we will look further into next week and the beginning of December to determine what might be next and if there are any other storm systems that we are monitoring. We will go over the timeframes that require our attention, examine the weather patterns together, and have a good time doing so, as I believe everyone knows how much I enjoy discussing winter weather. Good Thursday evening to you. I hope you are all doing well. If you are new here, I would be grateful if you subscribed, and please do like the video if you find it helpful. And if there is anything I can pray for on your behalf, please mention it in the comments below. First, let's take a look at the current condition. I am recording this video at approximately 6:15. That is 6:15 Eastern Time. We do have some snow falling in various locations, and although the radar shows blue, which indicates snow, not all of this is reaching the ground as snowflakes. And Greensboro. But it could eventually change to snow as we get some dynamic cooling. That is a process where the atmosphere cools down from heavy precipitation, allowing a switch from heavy rain to perhaps a burst of heavy snow. However, it is snowing in Roanoke. Let's move a little bit closer. It is snowing in Lynchburg, though it could start as a little rain in these areas. In Blacksburg, we are seeing heavy snow. I am not certain what is actually hitting the ground at this very moment, but this is our storm system. This is the moisture, and you can see areas of yellow, which means we have some heavier precipitation associated with this. If this can move up and interact with the cold air already in place, we are going to see some heavy, wet snow. So, these are the current conditions on the live radar. Here is the latest on watches, warnings, and advisories. Well, there are not actually any warnings in effect at the moment. I did mention that some areas could be upgraded to winter storm warnings, but as of right now, that has not happened. And I was saying earlier this morning that I thought we might see some winter weather advisories issued for Nashville and points to the north, but currently, we do not have those. These areas in a bluish-green color are simply under special weather statements for a wintry mix, which is occurring right now. But the core of the approaching system is right here. Winter weather advisories extend all the way down to just south of Asheville, and all the way up through the Boone and Banner Elk area. They now also include northern parts of North Carolina, such as Greensboro and Winston-Salem. To clarify, the Durham and Raleigh areas are not under a winter weather advisory at this time. The advisory does include Petersburg up to Roanoke. Pardon me, I meant Richmond. Roanoke is over here. It also includes Lynchburg and Charlottesville, and we now have winter weather advisories for the Baltimore and Washington District of Columbia areas, extending into southern Maryland, including the Tidewater and Delmarva region. Technically, there are no winter weather advisories in Delaware as of this moment. However, I will tell you that the changes we are observing favor more winter weather farther to the north. We will discuss that in more detail as we proceed through this video. So, for now, there are no winter storm warnings, just the winter weather advisories shown in purple. Let's review the latest radar model. Well, not the radar, but rather the short-range model, which could very well end up resembling what the real-time radar will show. We will begin this at approximately 8 p.m. Eastern Time. If you lose track of the time frame, you can always look up here on the screen, because I may forget to mention the time at certain points. This is going to be a quick-moving system. So, we move forward in time, and we start to get. If we can get this model in motion, there we go. As we advance to about 10 p.m. tonight, which is just a few short hours from now, it is still snowing quite heavily in eastern Kentucky. Snow is falling all the way up into Beckley and Charleston. If you live in Charleston, please let me know. I truly hope you see some snow if you are a fan of winter weather. If you are a snow enthusiast in Charleston, I hope it reaches you, because this area of West Virginia can sometimes be shielded from significant winter weather events due to its lower elevation. In any case, let's continue. The snow begins to move into the southwestern sections of Virginia, and then we see a change to some heavy, wet snow down in the Boone and Banner Elk area. The latest high-resolution model does not show much winter weather at all for the Asheville area, including places like Waynesville and Hendersonville, but we could certainly begin with a wintry mix. The discussion for the winter weather advisory down there notes that you really need to be above 3,500 feet in elevation. So, we will see what happens, but it is starting as plain old rain in Winston-Salem. In Greensboro, we are expecting that rain to eventually change over to snow due to a process we call dynamic cooling. That simply means the atmosphere cools down, allowing that heavy rain to become a sudden burst of heavy snow. We are already seeing snow in Roanoke, and if we take a closer look, it is also snowing in Lynchburg. Now, these areas could see a little rain first, but Blacksburg is currently receiving very heavy snow. Let's make this view a little bit wider again. We continue to move forward until about 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning. The system progresses, and you can see the rain-snow line begins to drop a little farther to the south, down into the Greensboro and Winston-Salem area. For Raleigh and Durham, it is just rain. In Danville, it is now snowing. In Richmond, it is now snowing. Petersburg is snowing. Charlottesville and Fredericksburg are seeing snow, and it is reaching all the way up to the Washington District of Columbia area. Winchester is now seeing snow, and there is still some lingering back here in eastern Kentucky. As for whether it will switch to a period of snow in the Tri-Cities area, like Johnson City and Bristol, I do believe we will get a little snow from this. And I should also mention, let's go back for a moment, as I do not want to completely leave out our friends in Tennessee. There is still some winter weather falling around 2 in the morning between 1 and 2 o'clock tonight, right here in Middle Tennessee. You could still be dealing with a light wintry mix, but the core of the system will have moved into the mid-Atlantic by then. As we continue to move this forward to about 5 o'clock, before the sun has come up, it is more of a wintry, icy mix. This is when I believe we could be dealing with some freezing rain in the Boone and Banner Elk area. It might receive a quick inch or two of snow, followed by a coating of ice. It is still snowing in Richmond and Petersburg. The question is, will you switch to snow in Norfolk or Chesapeake or the general Hampton Roads area? We will have to watch that rain-snow line. Sleet appears to be falling just to the north of the Rocky Mountain. For folks in the Durham and Raleigh area, the question is how far south this precipitation will go. The consistent trend we are observing is that this storm system is moving so quickly that the cold air simply has not had enough time to move in ahead of it. In a way, the storm is outrunning its own supply of cold air, which means the moisture is arriving first. So, the cold air is having a harder time winning out in the southern areas. There is plenty of cold air. However, once you get into Virginia, by 5 o'clock in the morning, it is now snowing in Baltimore and Washington. It is snowing across all of southern Maryland and the Delmarva area. Salisbury, you are getting snow. In Dover, it is now snowing. The snow is reaching all the way up to Atlantic City on this latest model run. Then, as we continue to about 8 o'clock, snow is still flying throughout the southern areas of West Virginia and Virginia. It is still snowing in Richmond. When we get all the way to about 10 a.m., we still have a wintry mix ongoing in certain areas, but the blue on the map still represents snow, so for some locations it will be snowing for several hours. This is at 10 o'clock in the morning, tomorrow morning. It is snowing all the way up into areas of Philadelphia, Wilmington, and Dover. And if we look at the latest run here, yes, it does continue to trend north. For example, this is the model output at 8 a.m. for the current run. And then if we look at 8 a.m. from the past run, I just think we are seeing a little tick to the north. You can see that little nudge to the north that we had here. So I want to continue to watch it. If we go back and look at the 18Z run, it is not a great deal different, but we will keep this going just so we can see the system through to its conclusion. And it never really makes it up to Long Island. So that is the system. Now, let's go over the forecast snow amounts. Using the latest from, we are going to update some of these graphics because I do want to provide the latest and greatest information, and I do not believe it has changed at all. But for eastern Kentucky, we are forecasting 1 to 2 inches in Hazard and Pikeville, 1 to 3 inches in Black Mountain, 2 to 4 in Harlan, and 1 to 2 inches in Middlesboro. I also think we could get a little bit of light snow in the Cumberland Plateau. And in fact, I am going to look at this right now because I meant to pull this up earlier. Let's see if I have it memorized. I think it is OKX. I believe that is the Nashville. No, that is incorrect. So that is unfortunate. I was going to try to pull up Middle Tennessee there, but I do think some light snowfall accumulations are possible. You know what? I cannot leave you all waiting. I have to pull it up. It bothers me too much not to. Let's go take a look at this, and let's look at the snow forecast. So, yes indeed, there are a few tenths of an inch of snow forecast for areas like the northern Cumberland Plateau in Tennessee and north of Knoxville. So, you can see these grayed out areas where we can expect a few tenths of an inch of snow, perhaps half an inch. Someone might even manage to get an inch, but it is likely going to be under 1 inch. All right, so we go back to the Greenville and Spartanburg area. Let's see if we have a new updated graphic for this. It appears we do not. So, the forecast is for a few tenths of an inch of snow here in Hickory, Lenoir, Marion, and Burnsville, with maybe an inch in Newland. And I do think there is a possibility of freezing rain here in these orange-colored areas where over a tenth of an inch of freezing rain could fall. So, please be cautious of some freezing rain in parts of western and southwestern North Carolina in these favored locations. But then we take it on up here. Let's see if we have an updated graphic. I apologize, I keep checking. Yes, we do. So, I am glad that I did that. It looks like they have increased the totals. I do not recall what the previous one just showed, but Roanoke is now up to 3 to 5 inches of snow. Lynchburg is closer to 4 inches. Lexington is at 4 inches, and Charlottesville is at 3 inches. This is getting a bit closer to winter storm warning criteria. Now, Lewisburg is at 4 to 5 inches. Mount Airy is at 1 to 2 inches. For Wytheville, and you all can correct me on the pronunciation, 3 inches of snow. Boone is about 1.5 inches. Bristol is at about 8/10 of an inch of snow. For Roanoke and Johnson City, nothing is being called for. Danville, an inch or 2. Martinsville, 2 to 3 inches of snow. And this could fall in a hurry, folks. This is the latest graphic. No significant ice is expected in this area. The latest from West Virginia. Let's update this. And not a great deal has changed. Beckley is at 3 inches. Charleston. My goodness, it certainly is cold out there, folks. Let's see just how far north this band of snow is able to travel. The forecast is calling for 6/10 of an inch of snow in Logan, 1.5 inches in Grundy, and 3 inches of snow in Snowshoe, with about 2.5 inches expected. Now, turning our attention to the Raleigh-Durham area, we are forecasting about 2/10 of an inch of snow in Durham, with Burlington, Greensboro, and Winston-Salem all expecting about a half an inch. Roxborough is forecast to receive over an inch, which I believe is a bit on the optimistic side for that area, so we will keep a close watch on it. Let's go ahead and update this graphic to see the latest information. This is an area where forecasts have been rather confident, and I do think it could snow for several hours there. We're looking at 3 inches for Farmville and Richmond, with Petersburg seeing 2 to 3 inches. Williamsburg is expecting 2 inches, while Norfolk and the Hampton Roads area will likely see something else. I believe you are going to stay mainly rain in those areas. I dislike being the bearer of bad news for you winter weather fans, but it's important to be accurate. South Hill, however, could see 2.5 inches of snow. Ononcock, and I do hope I am pronouncing that correctly, may receive an inch or 2 of snow. Salisbury and Cambridge are both looking at around 1 inch of snow, so this is shaping up to be a nice little event for that region. And now, let's look a bit farther up the road. Let's update this next graphic as well. I do apologize for pausing, but I want to ensure you have the very latest information available. For the Washington and Baltimore area, I think we could see a half an inch to an inch of snow, especially if this system continues to track northward. I believe these totals have the potential to be increased to over an inch. Fredericksburg is looking at 2 to 2.5 inches, and Lexington Park could see 2 inches. And there are some other areas to watch too. As we move north into the New Jersey National Weather Service forecast area, we see that Milford could receive an inch. I am going to draw on the map here because I can see this particular area possibly receiving more snow than is currently forecast. If we can get a band of light to moderate snow to set up in this region, it is quite possible someone could receive a surprise inch of snow. So, we will continue to monitor this situation closely. It is quite remarkable when you consider that some of these areas are going to experience several hours of continuous snow. If we look at Richmond, for example, we could see snow for as long as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, perhaps even 11 hours. I truly believe that someone in that area is going to see snowfall totals that exceed the forecast. Now, let's examine the latest European model to see what else might be heading our way. What is on the horizon after this initial storm system passes? We will begin our look on Sunday morning, where we see a rather potent and fast-moving storm, what we call a clipper, diving down out of the Midwest. You can see these darker blue shades, which indicates some heavy snow. On the warmer side of the system, you will receive mainly rain. This system dives in, and then we will likely see some light to moderate snow across the Ohio Valley on Sunday evening and into the Northeast. It'll be too warm for anything similar farther to the south. Then, as we move into Monday morning, we see some atmospheric energy trying to come together. You can also see some patches of blue, which represent light snow falling as far south as Tennessee and even northern Georgia. We will also have a chilly rain in the forecast as colder air moves into place. There is some energy attempting to connect and organize, but it does not appear to succeed. Then, as we move into Tuesday, another clipper system moves through the Great Lakes region. This brings more snow into the northeast. And then, yet another clipper follows, accompanied by a trough. This one could bring some moderate to heavy snow. Now, I have to admit, I am personally hoping this system digs a little farther south to bring some snow to the mountains, as I will be visiting there from next Wednesday through Sunday. It does, however, bring moisture all the way down to the mountains of North Carolina. We will also see some activity in Tennessee in the form of what we call northwest flow snow showers. Then, another clipper system arrives next Thursday around this time, and it looks quite strong. All of this activity has the possibility of shifting a little farther to the south if this trough and its energy dig more deeply. However, the common theme you are seeing is a great deal of energy coming from the northern jet stream. There are no huge storm systems on the horizon, but I do want to look at the 18Z model run that I showed you a moment ago. Looking at Sunday morning, watch how something begins to develop by Monday morning. There is energy digging southward and trying to connect. We see some light snow across Kentucky on Monday morning, and then, oh, look at that! That is a new development that will likely get people in North Carolina talking on the weather forums. We are seeing some energy connecting here, with some snow breaking out across parts of North Carolina. It appears different pieces are trying to come together, as the model shows some light snow in eastern areas of the state. There is some phasing of energy trying to get started, and that is why the potential for a storm early next week remains. It is certainly something to watch. We will need to figure this out over the next couple of days. The potential is certainly there. Now, the American GFS model continues to show a slightly different solution. It depicts that strong clipper system, which will probably bring moderate snowfall accumulations across the Midwest later this weekend and into late Sunday night. Indeed, that model is showing some heavy snow. The GFS model suggests the possibility of these elements connecting to form a significant snowstorm from Sunday night into Monday morning across the Northeast. We are going to watch this very carefully, as this is now under 100 hours away. It also shows a little bit of snow down through the central to southern Appalachian Mountains, but the pieces do not connect like they do on the European model. After that, we move into Tuesday and then Wednesday. Here comes another very strong clipper system diving in. This is a northern stream clipper with a pressure around 980 millibars, which is quite potent. We then see a great deal of atmospheric energy showing up across the eastern United States on Thursday morning of next week. Then, more energy dives in and actually tries to connect some of the pieces around next Friday, the 12th, bringing some light to moderate snow to the mid-Atlantic. There is certainly a lot going on between now and the next 7 to 10 days, but there is nothing enormous showing up on our radar. We are not seeing any model runs that indicate a major blockbuster storm. Now, let's examine the 12-hour ensemble models, which show us periods of potential snowfall. You are going to see the signal emerge. Here comes that first clipper diving in, which shows a hint of snow dropping down into the upper southeast and the mid-Atlantic. As we move forward in time, there is that larger clipper on Tuesday moving across the Great Lakes and the Northeast. And after that, the pattern becomes much less organized. We can see a potential snow line dropping all the way down to Tennessee and North Carolina, with the Northeast also seeing its share. I believe this is a sign of a large dip in the jet stream, what we call a trough, that is going to move in. There is a lot of energy associated with it, but that does not guarantee that the energy will connect to form a larger storm system. If we look at the period between this weekend and about 7 days after, you will see the blue shading. This blue represents lower pressure and the energy associated with it, which normally brings in colder air. It is a dip in the jet stream diving across the central and eastern United States, while the warmer colors indicate a building ridge of high pressure. As we continue to move forward, we see this energy swing in and out early next week, followed by a reinforcing shot of cold air for the northern sections of the country. This will also bring some cold air down into the southeast. However, you can see that the trough, that greenish area, is primarily pivoting over the Great Lakes and the Northeast. This pattern suggests to me that the storm track will generally remain farther to the north, preventing major systems from moving into the deep south. However, as you continue to move into later next week, you see this large lobe of energy right here begins to dig more to the south. This will create an opportunity as we stop the animation here on next Thursday, a week from today. it will be an opportunity for some of that energy to dig a little bit farther south. So, this raises the question of whether a surprise system could develop in this time frame. That could happen between Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of next week, as a large dip in the trough and the jet stream occurs over the eastern United States. You can see it right here. These are the same pieces of energy we need to watch from the late weekend into early next week. You see, something is digging here, which is exactly what we just showed you on that 18Z European model run. It showed what could happen if these elements come together. Then, the overall pattern begins to flow strongly from this direction. Watch as I put this back into motion. As we get into late next week, around this time, we will have some energy that has an opportunity to push farther south as that trough digs more aggressively. That could create an opportunity for a storm system to develop. The main issue is that the subtropical jet, or the southern stream of the jet, appears to be quite inactive. There is not a great deal of energy or moisture to be picked up by the more aggressive northern stream at this time. Regardless, reinforcing shots of cold air are on the way. Looking ahead to Monday, you can see those deep purple colors showing up, which represent 20 to 25 degrees below average temperatures. That is 20 to 25 degrees below your average temperature for your specific location. For example, if your average high temperature is 45 degrees and you experience temperatures that are 20 degrees below average, then you will see high temperatures only in the 20s. As we continue forward, you will see this pattern persists. The below average temperatures are expected to continue for some time. The atmosphere might warm slightly for a brief period, and then we have that significant dip in the jet stream once again late next week and into next weekend, which I believe will be the key period to watch going forward. That reinforces the cold air, and even after 10 days, folks, the cold air remains, with another reinforcing shot showing up at the very end of the model run. It appears that a ridge of high pressure, which typically brings warmer weather, tries to build in, and everyone has been discussing a potential mid-month warm-up. I would say, not so fast. That ridge does not manage to build over the southeast or the eastern United States before another trough digs down right behind it. I am telling you, my model guidance will likely continue to adjust colder because of the progression of a global pattern known as the MJO. Now, if you look at the official 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, which runs from the 10th through the 14th and was issued today, it still calls for below average temperatures in the blue shaded areas. However, the precipitation outlook appears dry for the southern tier of the country, while the northern tier looks to have a series of these clipper systems. Moving to the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, covering the 12th through the 18th, the pattern continues. As we get deeper into the month, the forecast still favors below average temperatures in the blue area. The darker that blue shading is, the higher the confidence forecasters have that we will experience below average temperatures. The overall pattern looks to be bending a little bit, but for the most part, the cold air appears locked in place. For the most part, it appears the northern areas of our country will continue to receive more precipitation, while the southern regions will see a little less. However, we must remember that all of this can change, and it can change quite quickly. That is all the information I have for you now. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the snow that you receive tonight and into tomorrow. It will certainly be a festive and beautiful snowfall. This is not going to be a debilitating snowstorm by any means, and I cannot imagine how anyone could complain about 2 to 4 inches of snow, for instance, in Virginia in early December on a Friday. If you live in a place like Roanoke, it seems like a perfect evening to order a pizza. I know I would be very excited. Hopefully, our time is coming for the deep south. I have high confidence that it is. We simply have to continue to be patient. Please remember that it is only December the 4th, so there is plenty of winter ahead. That is my report. I hope you all have a very good and a wonderful night.